With the recent release of Despicable Me 4, I wanted to bring up the question we answered with the Disney animated universe and the DreamWorks animation universe, which is, do all of the Illumination movies take place in the same universe, otherwise known as the Illumination Theory? Before I get into the watch order, I do want to say this world is pretty different from the others. I believe, unlike the others, in this one, it's actually separated. So I believe there are four main dimensions or worlds in the Illumination animated universe, with the Who dimension, the Prime dimension, the Animal dimension, and the Mushroom dimension. We know there are different dimensions through the Super Mario Bros. Movie where Mario and Luigi travel to different dimensions using the green pipes, and we see how different these dimensions are from Mario and Luigi's home in New York, from the landscapes to the living beings. So because of that, for this universe to make sense, we can separate these worlds into four dimensions within the larger Illumination animated universe. One thing I'll say for this world is because it has clear separate dimensions, there isn't much theory of what goes on behind the scenes about animals trying to take over like in the DreamWorks theory, or time repeating on itself like in the Pixar theory, which eventually I do want to do a video of because my Pixar theory is a little bit different from the famous one. Rather, what you see is what you see. And there's no explanation as of yet for how these portals between dimensions work through the pipes. And I think that fits the narrative of what the Illumination films are. Fun films that don't try to have a deeper meaning behind their stories. Maybe eventually a video about how the dimensional pipe system works is worth making. But for now, welcome to Big Flick Energy, and let's get into the watch order for the Illumination universe. We start off with the Who dimension, which is comprised of Illumination films based off stories created by Dr. Seuss. We have two, and we start with the Grinch, which follows the Grinch, a grumpy green creature who despises Christmas and lives in a cave atop Mount Crumpet with his loyal dog Max. The Grinch decides to ruin Christmas for the nearby town of Whoville by stealing all the holiday decorations, gifts, and food. You all know the story. However, his plan is thwarted by the kindness and generosity of Cindy Lou Who, a young girl who invites him to join their holiday celebrations. Touched by the Who's unbreakable Christmas spirit, the Grinch's heart grows and he returns everything he stole, ultimately joining the Who's in their festivities. Now, there are multiple different versions of this story of how the Grinch stole Christmas, but this is going to be the Illumination one. It's not going to be the 2D animated one. It's not going to be the Jim Carrey one. And it's definitely not going to be the recently made rated R movie called The Mean One. It is the Illumination one. However, years later, we'll meet the Lorax, where the story is set in the town of Thneedville, where all the trees are artificial, and the air is sold by a greedy businessman named O'Hare. A young boy named Ted wants to find a real tree to impress a girl named Audrey. He seeks out the Onceler, who tells him the story of how he met the Lorax, a guardian of the forest who speaks for the trees. The Onceler recounts how his greed led to the destruction of the forest and the disappearance of the Lorax. Inspired by the Lorax's message, Ted decides to plant a real tree in Thneedville, starting a movement to restore the natural environment. Even though the Lorax came out in theaters before the Grinch, the presence of so many trees in the Grinch in Whoville, while none during the Lorax in Thneedville, shows that there had to have been a time for the gap for the trees to be cut down between the two, even if it's different cities. Another thing is going off when the original Dr. Seuss books were released. Then, yeah, the Grinch takes place 24 years before the Lorax, which would make sense as a time span for the trees to be removed, even though Thneedville isn't the same as Whoville, but for most of the world. With that though, we jump to the Prime Dimension, which starts with the short film Cro Minion, showing the Despicable Me minions during the start of human history with the cavemen as their leaders. This is then followed by 1968's Minions, which tells more of their story as the minions have traveled throughout history as the army of the biggest villains in the world. Which really makes me wonder what the minions were doing between 1939 and 1945. So, the minions travel through various periods serving different masters before meeting Scarlet Overkill in the 1960s, which sets the stage for their journey to eventually finding Gru. Back to the shorts, we have Binky Nelson Unpacified, which focuses on Binky Nelson, a member of a family of thieves. After a heist, Binky loses his pacifier and embarks on a mission to retrieve it, which sets the stage for this world being comprised of these lively villains, including a family that brings their baby along on heists, and Gru himself. This is followed by Minions: The Rise of Gru, which explores young Gru's journey to becoming a supervillain with the help of the Minions, set in the year 1976. It delves into his early encounters with the Vicious Six, a supervillain team in the Despicable Me franchise.
We have Banana, which sees three minions fighting over a banana. In the process, they wreak havoc in the minions' workplace. So there's a lot of short films in this world. You'll definitely get to see that soon.
After this, we go to the short competition, which features minions Kevin and Stuart competing to see who can make the most noise using household items, showcasing their competitive and mischievous nature. This is followed by The Secret Life of Pets, taking place in 2010. So obviously a massive time jump since The Rise of Gru has happened with competition in The Secret Life of Pets. And as it takes place in 2010, it's famously known for being a copy of Toy Story. How? John Negroni, creator of the Pixar Theory, put it best. Like Toy Story, we have a pre-established society where humans call the shots. On top of that, we have a main character named Max who is used to getting all of the attention from his owner, exactly like Woody and Andy's relationship in Toy Story. The inciting incident appears to be the adoption of a new pet who steals the attention away from the favorite, who is Max in this case. Then the two of them get lost and have to find their way home, resolving their differences along the way. Obviously, this is a major reference to Woody and Buzz from Toy Story. And if that's not Toy Story, then I don't know what is. But it shows the intelligence of animals in this world, but like I mentioned before, this intelligence doesn't necessarily amount to anything like it does in the worlds of DreamWorks and Disney. Rather, it shows that these different dimensions of the Illumination world have more similarities than we think. If things had gone differently, perhaps the Prime Dimension would have ended up the same as the Animal Dimension, where animals rule society very similar to what humans have. We follow it up with the short film Norman Television, where Norman, from The Secret Life of Pets, a lost guinea pig, wanders in the pipe through apartments in New York. And his main recreation during his adventure is to see how the apartment residents live, with popcorn and remote controls. And this is followed by its sequel film taking place a year later in The Secret Life of Pets 2. The sequel follows Max dealing with changes in his life, including a new baby in the family, and the adventures of various pets as they navigate their challenges, which once again sounds like a similar concept to what we saw at the end of Toy Story with a puppy being introduced into the family, so kind of reverse, but yeah, Secret Life of Pets is just Toy Story. I will also say the Secret Life of Pets films show that while these pets are more intelligent than we believe, they, for the most part, are pleasant living their current lives. After the sequel film is a short film called Super Gidget. When Max is kidnapped by an army of squirrels, Super Gidget is the only one who can save him. It turns out that Max's captor is a flea with the power of mind control named Infestor. Gidget must use her pluckiness, strength, and smarts to save her one true love, until it turns out it was all just a dream.
It's all a dream!
Now, I didn't mention this other dimension before for good reason, but there is a fifth dimension, the Weenie Dimension. There was a short film attached to the Secret Life of Pets DVD called Weenie that is honestly a fever dream. It's pretty obvious this isn't in any of the other worlds, so it has to be its own, but it feels like a rated PG sequel to Sausage Party that was made on drugs and is only 4 minutes of a musical number of why being a weenie isn't a bad thing. So check it out if you want, because I guess it is the fifth dimension in this world and it does belong in the Illumination universe. And I know there was a scene in The Secret Life of Pets that showed the Weenie universe, or the dimension, or whatever the imagination of Max was, but I don't think that you can amount this other story to be in that same world. I think it's too out there, so personally I just think that maybe they had hallucinated, maybe they had a trick that allowed them to see this other dimension, but I think the Weenie Dimension is its own thing. With that though, we return to the Despicable Me franchise with 2 shorts. First, we have Orientation Day, depicting some of the Minions' first day on the job working for Gru. It humorously showcases their training and mishaps as they get accustomed to their new roles. After is Mower Minions, which features the Minions taking on a lawn mowing job to earn money for a blender. Once again, just a fun tale in this world, same as the next project with the series of animated shorts, Saturday Morning Minions, showcasing various humorous scenarios involving the Minions in their everyday lives. This show plays the role of the Saturday morning cartoons I know I grew up with, but for the next generation. And this takes us into the famous and infamous movie Despicable Me in 2016. It follows Gru as he plans to steal the moon, but ends up becoming a loving father to 3 orphan girls. This world is very similar to ours, which allows it to fit in smoothly with Secret Life of Pets, and the eventual film will talk about migration. Biggest difference is spies and villains run the world in a lot of ways. Oh, and we also meet the greatest villain of all time, Vector.
So we have another short called Mooned, which takes place sometime after the events of the first film, where we see Vector, still stuck on the moon, attempt to escape. He attempts to escape the moon using his oxygen helmet gadget to find resources to help him leave the moon, but at the end of the film, he accidentally ends up on Mars because of a collision with the Minions, who were also in space at that time.
We then return to the short films with Home Makeover showing the Minions and the girls preparing Gru's house for a visit from a social worker, transforming it into a more family-friendly environment so Gru can stay as the father of the girls. This is followed by Puppy, which features a Minion adopting a stray alien puppy, which is honestly just a little robot, and the challenges that come with it, highlighting the Minions' affection and loyalty and also showing that there are worlds beyond our own within the Prime Dimension. Will we ever see stories expanding on this? We'll just have to wait to find out. I could definitely see an alien-based story in the world of Illumination though. But after this, we have Training Wheels, where the Minions help Agnes learn to ride her bike by modifying it with various gadgets, resulting in a series of humorous events. And from there we jump into the animal dimension with the movie Sing. It's an animated musical film set in a world inhabited by anthropomorphic animals centering on Buster Moon, a koala who owns a struggling theater. To save his theater from closing, Buster decides to host a singing competition with a grand prize. The competition attracts a variety of talented contestants, each with their own backstory and personal struggles. Throughout the competition, the characters face their fears, build confidence, and form friendships. The film culminates in a spectacular final performance that brings everyone together and saves Buster's theater. After this, Sing 2 continues the story of Buster Moon and his troupe of performers. Now successful in running on a popular theater, Buster sets his sights on a new goal: producing a show in the entertainment capital, Red Shore City. To gain access to this prestigious venue, Buster promises to bring a reclusive rock legend, Clay Calloway, out of retirement. The main characters from the first film return, along with some new faces, as they navigate the challenges of putting on an ambitious new show. As mentioned before, this story shows the similarities between the Prime Dimension and the Animal Dimension, including the perseverance for those you love, and how criminals live throughout both worlds, and how similar both of these worlds look. And with that, it brings us back to the Prime Dimension with Despicable Me 2, taking place a year after the original. Gru, now a retired supervillain and devoted father, is recruited by the Anti-Villain League to help capture a new supervillain, El Macho. With the help of his minions and new partner Lucy Wilde, Gru navigates the challenges of parenthood and romance with Lucy while saving the world from El Macho and his new chemicals that can make these minions into some crazy monsters. This is followed by the short Panic in the Mailroom, which sees minions Ken and Mike working in the mailroom at Gru's lab. When they accidentally mix up a dangerous serum with the outgoing mail, chaos ensues as they try to retrieve it.
So then after Panic at the Mailroom, we have another short with Midnight Mission, which sees 3 minions trying anything to help Agnes overcome her fear of the dark, even if it involves going into outer space. So we know this takes place around then because we still see Agnes with the old unicorn doll.
We then return to the films with Despicable Me 3, where Gru and Lucy are fired from the Anti-Villain League after failing to capture Balthazar Bratt, a former child star turned supervillain inspired by the 80s. Gru discovers he has a wealthy, charming twin brother named Drew, who wants to team up for one last heist. Meanwhile, the minions leave Gru seeking a new villain to serve, but eventually return to help. Gru and Drew team up to steal a diamond from Bratt, who plans to use it for a giant robot to destroy Hollywood. In the end, Gru, Drew, Lucy, and the Minions defeat Brat, saving Hollywood and Gru's daughters. Gru and Lucy are reinstated at the AVL, and the family embraces Drew as part of their team and part of their family. After this, we have the clearest connection between Despicable Me and The Secret Life of Pets, with the obviously named The Secret Life of Kyle. And Kyle is the pet dog, or Tasmanian devil, or just straight up monster of Gru from Despicable Me. It shows Kyle's life when Gru and the girls are away, featuring his misadventures and interactions with other pets in the neighborhood, including some Easter eggs to other pets we saw within the Secret Life of Pets film franchise, establishing these two worlds to be one and the same. After this is Yellow is the New Black, which follows two minions escaping from prison. The story humorously explores their attempts to avoid capture while navigating various obstacles. Then we have Santa's Little Helpers, showing the minions ending up at the North Pole and causing chaos in Santa's workshop. Their antics eventually help them realize the true meaning of Christmas. Also, I do want to say that while this world is not as expansive as DreamWorks and not as expansive as Disney, it does show here that magic exists in this world, and it did show before that aliens exist in this world. So Illumination's a very new world with a lot of room to grow, and I would not be surprised if we start to see those stories down the line. But we then continue, as this is followed by a Minion Scouts, which a group of minions joins a scout troop. They attempt to earn merit badges, leading to various comedic mishaps in their quest to prove themselves as capable scouts. And next is Minions and Monsters, where we see the minions in a medieval setting, where they encounter dragons, wizards, and other fantastical creatures. Their usual antics are set against a backdrop of fantasy adventure, but it's not actual in a fantastical setting. They're just cosplaying as Dungeons and Dragons characters while doing laundry. And then we're back with another short in Postmodern Minion, which showcases the minions working in a modern art museum where their misunderstandings of the art pieces lead to hilarious situations. And now, after so many consecutive shorts, we get back to the films, which is what we all care about, with the recently released Despicable Me 4. I haven't seen this film as of yet, but it shows Gru and Lucy as parents of their own child now. Gru, Lucy, Margot, Edith, and Agnes welcome a new member to the family, Gru Jr., who's intent on tormenting his dad. Gru faces a new nemesis in Maxime Lamal and his girlfriend, Valentina. And the family is forced to go on the run. I'll hopefully watch this film soon so I can release a separate video on exactly how it fits into this world, but for now, this is all I've got. And now with a new dimension in the Mushroom Dimension, which sees characters like Bowser, Donkey Kong, and Toad roaming the world. I think everybody watching this video has already watched this movie or has played the games, so we all know the premise of the film. But this is the film that establishes the pipes as these tools used to travel between dimensions, as Mario and Luigi are from the Prime Dimension, so they're from the same place as the Despicable Me and Secret Life of Pets characters, but their ordinary life takes a major turn as they travel to the Mushroom Kingdom through a green pipe. Now, the character designs are different from the Despicable Me franchise, but in Despicable Me 4, you can see they've shifted the animation style for new characters like Gru's son to be more in line with the successful designs in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And we also know, even within the movie, that Mario and Luigi are seen as very small comparatively to everybody, including their family. So I don't think you can say that it's too different of an animation style. I think you can make the argument that they live in the same world. But in this film, they'll be taken to this new dimension and have to fight side by side with Princess Peach and the Mushroom Kingdom and Donkey Kong and his country to take on Bowser and his army in a race for the superstar. This is a film that is definitely going to have a much larger story with an already announced sequel film and a Donkey Kong spin-off film. And also, I think it's going to be much larger than that with a full cinematic universe, or otherwise a multiverse. Matter of fact, I've made 5 videos talking about my proposal for a Nintendo Cinematic Universe that actually starts with this movie. That I would say is probably the most creative I've gotten on my channel. So I recommend you all check that out because it was a lot of fun to make, and trust me when I say it's not over yet. I have plans for future videos talking about the Nintendo Cinematic Universe as well that's probably going to come out whenever we get more news on the Donkey Kong spin-off or Super Mario Bros. Movie Part 2. But yeah, I loved making that and I recommend you all check it out. But with that, we can continue with the film Migration. Now, Migration did come out before Despicable Me 4, but Despicable Me 4 takes place a year after Despicable Me 2 and 3, which take place a year after the first Despicable Me, which takes place in 2016. Because otherwise, it would make no sense why Gru's daughters look the exact same age. So Despicable Me 4 takes place in 2018, while Migration takes place the year it came out in 2023. So this film doesn't directly have any Easter eggs linking it to Despicable Me or Secret Life of Pets, but the film follows a family of mallards, an animal very commonly seen throughout the Minions and Despicable Me films, with the exact same character design. So it's pretty harmless to just assume these films to be in the same world. But in Migration, a family of mallard ducks decides to leave the safety of a New England pond for an adventurous trip to Jamaica. However, their well-laid plans quickly go awry when they get lost and wind up in New York City. The experience soon inspires them to expand their horizons, open themselves up to new friends, and accomplish more than they ever thought possible. And once again, while the ducks are evidently more intelligent than humans think, they don't have a desire to replace them, even if they do want to change in their lifestyle. Which is why this world to me does not seem to be the prelude to the movie Sing and that animal world. So with that, we have the complete Illumination Theory with how all of these films take place in the same universe, but in different dimensions, differentiating itself from DreamWorks and Disney. It's evidently smaller than those two worlds as well, but I just want to put a plug in for a YouTuber, FunShorts765, who told me he was actually inspired by my Disney Animated Universe video to create the DCM. He's releasing his videos about this massive universe or multiverse, which is bigger than anything I've made before. So you guys should check that out. I don't think Illumination films fit into his world from what I've looked into, but honestly, it's big enough already. Back on my end though, this world, the Illumination world, is smaller than DreamWorks and Disney and excludes the Illumination live-action animated hybrid film Hop, but it still has a lot of good content to make it an enjoyable watch, including 4 different dimensions that aren't stopping just yet. Well, maybe the Dr. Seuss one is, but we'll have to see. So, thank you for watching this video on the Illumination Theory. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on this world and if you think it has potential to keep on growing. Let me know your thoughts on Despicable Me 4, your thoughts on the future of the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Thanks for watching and see you all next time on Big Flick Energy.